Okay, we are continuing with the cardiovascular system, and this is an intro lesson. And it's different from an overview because we're going to focus on the functions, the parts, and then some features of those parts within the system. And then in later videos, we're going to get into more detail about those same parts. Okay, so this is an introduction to the system. So let's get started. What is the cardiovascular system? So we did talk about this before, but let's address it again. It's a closed system. So that means, no, I'm not getting blood from the outside environment and pulling it in. It's a closed system within my body, and it includes the heart and the blood vessels. So blood is pumped from the heart throughout the body, and it goes back to the heart. It's not going anywhere else. It's a closed system. If you have a wound, obviously you have broken that system, and then your body needs to heal it. So the heart pumps the blood, and then the blood vessels allow the blood to circulate to all the parts of the body, providing nutrients and removing wastes. What are some of the functions of the cardiovascular system? Well, it needs to deliver oxygen and nutrients. Cells need to get what they need. It also needs to remove carbon dioxide and other waste products. If waste products build up, cells will die. Okay. It needs to regulate our body temperature. So there's vasoconstriction and vasodilation, which serve to control the amount of blood that's flowing to your skin, okay, and to help regulate your body temperature. It transports hormones. Remember, glands, so your thyroid gland in your neck needs to control other parts outside of just your neck. So the endocrine system needs to utilize the cardiovascular system to deliver those hormones so they can get to the right target cells. And then the cardiovascular system also plays an important role in fighting disease. So with the immune system, it's transporting white blood cells, antibodies, all kinds of disease fighting parts within the immune system. Where's the location of your heart? So your heart is in your thorax, your chest, between the second and sixth rib. It's behind the sternum, this bone right here, and it's tilted slightly to the left side. Okay, so tilted slightly to the left. It's not like sideways like this. Okay, you can see the apex. That's that border, the one that's tilted to the left. Okay, so here you go. You can see it's basically in the center, but again, tilted slightly to the left. That's where the apex is. Okay, but you can see where the vertebrae are right here. That would be along your midline. So really the heart is in the middle. It is tilted that way. The size of your heart. The heart is about the size of your fist. Okay, so you hold your fist to your chest. That's relatively close to the size of your heart. The heart weighs less than a pound. Okay, it weighs between 250 and 350 grams, and 450 grams would be about a pound. So you can see it does weigh less. What are the heart coverings? Well, there's the pericardium. It's 2 layers. So you can see kind of like that balloon is being pushed in. So it's the sac that surrounds the heart, but it has 2 layers. Okay. And then there's fluid between the layers, which help to reduce friction. So this whole thing provides some protection, and there's some fluid there to give some cushioning so that if your heart is bumped or something like that, it will give some additional protection. Okay, so the pericardium is 2 layers, and then we have serous fluid found. There's a space between the pericardium and your heart, and there's going to be some fluid there that is going to reduce friction, provide some additional protection. So the layers of the heart wall. So we have 3 layers when we're looking at the actual heart. We have the epicardium, that's the outer protective layer. We have the myocardium, myo, muscle, middle. Whole lot of M's, okay? So the myocardium is made of muscle, it's the middle layer. And then endocardium is the thin inner layer, okay? And that's the layer that continues off into the blood vessels, okay? Normal heart rate. So this is a heart that's been removed before a heart transplant, and you still need to be kept alive while they're waiting to transplant your heart. So this heart is going to still be kept beating until the new one is in place and all the blood vessels can be reattached. But our normal heart rate is between 60 and 100 beats per minute. During sleep, a heart rate could drop to 40 or 50 beats per minute, and that's relatively common. Okay, the heart sounds. All right, so it's related to the contraction. So the dub sound is first, and that's when those atrioventricular valves close, the valves between the atria and the ventricles. And then the dub sound is when the semilunar valves close. Okay, that's after the blood's been pushed out of the ventricles. Okay, so we'll see if it actually plays through in the video, but I'll talk through it. So lub, atrioventricular valves close, and dub, the semilunar valves close. And it's all based on that contraction of the ventricle. But what you can see in this animation here is that the top chambers, the atria, contract together, and then the bottom chambers, the ventricles, contract together. It's very rhythmic. So atria, ventricles, atria, ventricles. Okay? The contraction is rhythmic, and the lub-dub sound is created. Nervous system and your heart rate. Okay, your heart rate does not stay the same all the time, and the nervous system plays a role in this. So we have the sympathetic nervous system, and that's the fight or flight response. And your heart rate starts beating faster, faster, faster. So sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, increases your heart rate. And then parasympathetic is the opposite. It's rest and digest. It decreases your heart rate. Okay, sympathetic, parasympathetic, sympathetic, parasympathetic. Okay, sympathetic, fight or flight, parasympathetic, rest and digest. What are the components of blood? Well, we have plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Plasma is the liquid part. It's a yellow liquid. It's not clear, and it makes up more than half of your blood. And it contains dissolved nutrients and gases, all kinds of things. Red blood cells are the erythrocytes. They're like those frisbee-looking cells, and they carry oxygen because they contain hemoglobin. White blood cells are leukocytes. They help to fight infection. A whole lot of different cells make up white blood cells. It's not just one type. And then platelets. And platelets are not real cells. They're cell fragments, but they help us clot blood so if there's an injury. There are 4 blood types. You can see here's a chart showing who can receive blood and who can donate blood. So let's look at O and AB first, because those are kind of the exceptions. So O can only get blood from O, but O can donate to all the other blood types. And AB can receive blood from every blood type, but can only donate to AB. Okay, and then A can get blood from A, also O because everybody can. B can get blood from B, but also O because everybody can. But now you see what they can donate to. A can donate to A and then AB because there's an A there, and B can donate to B or AB. So this chart kind of maybe helps it make a little bit more sense, but that is not the only factor. So blood type super important for transfusions, but there's also the RH factor. The RH factor can either be positive or negative. So you can be A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative. Every blood type, positive or negative. If someone comes in and we don't know the blood type and you're in the emergency room and they need blood, you will get O negative. Okay, that is has the least risk. Okay, because O can donate to everyone, and negative means there won't be the positive antigen. So you are at least the least risk for having a reaction. So RH factor is important for transfusion. So if I'm positive, I can get positive and negative blood. But if I'm negative, I can only get negative, right? And this also plays a role in pregnancy. So if a mom is RH negative and the baby is RH positive, there is a chance that some of those the proteins that are on the RH positive, okay, can cross that placental barrier, and the mom will start making antibodies against that protein, which would cause issues. So there's a shot called the RhoGAM shot, and it's given to moms pregnant who are negative, carrying a positive fetus at 28 weeks and also at birth. Okay, and it contains antibodies that bind to that RH protein and prevent the mom from making the antibodies. Okay, and sometimes this whole cycle doesn't happen with the first pregnancy, but it will with the second pregnancy. So mom is always tested to make sure whether she needs to get the shot or not. What are some changes that occur to the heart after birth? So remember, fetus happily living its life in the amniotic fluid in the amniotic sac is not using its lungs. So there are two structures. We have the ductus arteriosus and the foramen ovale, and both serve to bypass the lungs, which are non-functional in the fetus. So the foramen ovale is literally a connection between the right atrium and the left atrium. So blood just goes straight across. Okay, and then the ductus arteriosus, these are the pulmonary arteries, and they would bring blood to the lungs. So this ductus arteriosus gets any blood that might be pumped out of this right ventricle, and instead of going to the lungs, it's going to go straight into the aorta. Okay, and both again serve to bypass the lungs in the fetus. Once the baby is born, those features will close up, and as the lungs become functional. Okay, so here is once the fetus is born, okay, those features will no longer be used. So the foramen ovale, ductus arteriosus, they will close up. So you can see the difference in the heart structure of a fetal heart versus a newborn heart. Once the baby is born, those changes need to happen. And there you have it. That's an introduction to the cardiovascular system with a focus on functions and some of the major parts, which is the heart and blood. Okay, stay tuned for the next one.